The galaxy had seen countless alliances, treaties, and diplomatic marriages throughout its long history, but none had caused quite the stir as the announcement from the Valdorian Empire. Princess Zephyria, heir to the throne of one of the most powerful civilizations in the known universe, had reached her ceremonial age. According to ancient tradition, she must choose a mate from among the galaxy's elite. For months, suitors from every corner of space had traveled to the imperial palace. Warrior princes from the Crothian Dominion, renowned for their battle prowess. Philosopher kings from the ethereal collective, masters of thought and reason. Even the silicon-based royalty of the crystalline confederacy sent their finest. Each arrived with grand displays of wealth, power, and genetic superiority. Princess Zephyria rejected them all. The imperial court was in chaos. Her father, Emperor Valda the Magnificent, grew increasingly frustrated. Her mother, Empress Lyanna, tried patience and understanding. Her 3 younger siblings watched with a mixture of amusement and concern. The princess had turned away 73 suitors in 6 standard months. Some she dismissed after mere seconds. Others she granted audiences lasting hours, only to politely but firmly decline. "They're all the same," she told her handmaiden Sarah one evening, standing on her balcony overlooking the capital city's bioluminescent towers. "They speak of duty, of empires, of genetic compatibility. They calculate our offspring's potential like breeding livestock. Not one has asked what I dream about, what I fear, what makes me laugh." Sarah, who had served the princess since childhood, nodded sympathetically. "Perhaps love is a luxury princesses cannot afford, my lady. Then what is the point of all this power?" Zephyria gestured at the sprawling city below. "If I cannot even choose to be happy, what good is ruling half the galaxy?" The emperor, desperate to fulfill the ancient protocols, made one final decree. He would host a Grand Convergence, inviting representatives from every known species, including those from the lesser-developed regions of space. It would be a final massive gathering. If Zephyria did not choose a mate from this assembly, he would choose for her. Among the hundreds of species invited was one that few in the core worlds had heard of. Humans, from a small blue planet in an unremarkable arm of the galaxy, recently discovered by Valdorian exploratory vessels. Captain Marcus Chen received the invitation with skepticism. As the human ambassador to the Valdorian Empire, stationed at their remote outpost, he had grown accustomed to being overlooked. Humans were considered primitive by galactic standards. They had only achieved faster-than-light travel a generation ago. Their lifespans were short, their technology borrowed and adapted from other species. Their physical capabilities, unremarkable. "They're probably just being diplomatic," said Commander Sarah Williams, his second-in-command. "Including everyone to avoid offending anyone." "Probably," Marcus agreed. "But orders are orders. The Earth Council wants representation." Marcus was 42 years old, with graying temples and laugh lines around his eyes. He had served in Earth's Navy before joining the diplomatic corps. He had seen combat in the Unification Wars and peace negotiations in their aftermath. He was practical, direct, and had no illusions about humanity's place in the cosmic hierarchy. The journey to Valdoria Prime took 3 weeks through the transit gates. Marcus used the time to study Valdorian culture, customs, and the seemingly impossible task ahead. He wasn't there to compete for the princess's hand, of course. He was there to establish connections, to make humanity visible. The Grand Convergence was unlike anything Marcus had ever witnessed. The Imperial Palace complex spanned an area larger than most human cities. The great hall where the gathering took place had a ceiling that displayed real-time images of the cosmos, with entire nebulae swirling overhead. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species filled the space. Marcus felt distinctly out of place in his simple diplomatic uniform among beings in ornate armor, flowing energy garments, and bodies that defied conventional physics. He found a quiet corner and observed. The princess made her entrance to fanfare and display that seemed excessive even by royal standards. But when Marcus caught sight of her, he understood why she commanded such attention. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue. Her eyes were silver, literally metallic, and seemed to capture and reflect light. Her hair moved as if underwater, floating around her shoulders in defiance of gravity. But it wasn't her alien beauty that struck Marcus. It was her expression, beneath the royal composure. He recognized something achingly familiar, the look of someone trapped, going through motions they had no heart for. The ceremony began. One by one, suitors approached the elevated platform where Princess Zephyria sat with her parents. Each made their case. Each was politely declined. The process was efficient but clearly exhausting for everyone involved. Marcus didn't plan to approach. He was here to observe, to learn, to be present. But when a group of Crothian warriors began mocking the primitive species in the corner, making jokes about human fragility and insignificance loud enough for others to hear, something shifted. Commander Williams noticed his expression. "Don't. It's not worth it." "Probably not," Marcus agreed. But he started walking toward the platform anyway. The crowd parted with confusion and some amusement as the human approached. Whispers and translated laughter followed him. The Emperor looked puzzled. The Empress seemed curious. And Princess Zephyria's silver eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him pause for just a moment. He stopped at the appropriate distance and bowed in the Valdorian fashion. "Your Highnesses, I am Captain Marcus Chen, representing humanity and the planet Earth." The Emperor consulted with an advisor. "Ah, yes, the newly discovered species. You have traveled far. Captain, we appreciate your presence at this gathering." It was clearly a dismissal, a polite acknowledgement before moving on. But Marcus had come this far. "I don't presume to offer myself as a suitor, Your Majesty. My people barely know your empire exists. I have no grand displays of power or wealth, but I would ask permission to speak with Princess Zephyria, if she is willing." The hall went silent. It was a breach of protocol. Suitors presented themselves. They didn't make requests. The Emperor's expression darkened, but Zephyria spoke before her father could. "I am willing." Her voice was like music, harmonic and layered. "Approach, Captain Chen of Humanity." Marcus climbed the steps to the platform. Up close, he could see that her skin contained swirling patterns, like storm clouds beneath the surface. Her silver eyes studied him with sharp intelligence. "You say you are not here as a suitor," she said. "Then why approach?" "Honestly, annoyance." Marcus gestured vaguely toward where the Crothians stood. "Some warriors over there were insulting my species. Seemed like a good time to remind everyone we exist." The faintest smile touched Zephyria's lips. "You walked through that entire crowd, knowing you would face ridicule, out of annoyance?" "Your Highness, I've led soldiers into worse situations for worse reasons." "Tell me, Captain, what do humans value above all else?" Marcus considered the question seriously. "We value different things. We argue about it constantly. But if I had to choose one thing that defines us, choice, the ability to decide our own path, even when the path is difficult, even when we make mistakes." Zephyria's eyes widened slightly. Around the hall, translation devices buzzed as being strained to hear the exchange. "And if you could choose anything, Captain Chen, what would you choose?" "Right now, I'd choose to ask you what you dream about, what you fear, what makes you laugh." The Empress gasped softly. The Emperor leaned forward. Zephyria stared at Marcus, as if seeing him for the first time. "No one has asked me those questions," she said quietly. "Then they're fools, Your Highness." What happened next shocked the entire assembly. Princess Zephyria stood from her throne and descended the steps until she stood directly before Marcus, close enough that he could see his reflection in her metallic eyes. "I dream of flying among stars no one has seen," she said. "I fear becoming a symbol instead of a person. And I laugh." She paused. "I cannot remember the last time I truly laughed." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's the saddest thing I've heard all week. And despite everything, despite the thousands watching, despite the weight of tradition and empire, Princess Zephyria laughed. It started small, but grew musical and genuine and free. The Emperor rose from his throne. "Captain Chen, you will join us at the royal dinner tonight." What began as a gesture of defiance became something neither Marcus nor Zephyria expected. The royal dinner included only the immediate family and a few select guests. Marcus found himself seated beside the princess, with the Empress across from them watching with knowing eyes. "Tell me about Earth," Zephyria said. "Our exploratory reports contain only basic data." Marcus spent the evening describing his homeworld, the oceans and mountains, the diversity of ecosystems, the chaos of human history, with all its wars and peace, its art and science. He spoke of music from Earth, how it varied across cultures. He described what rain felt like, something Zephyria's climate control world had engineered away centuries ago. "You speak of your world with love," she observed, "despite all its flaws." "We created the flaws," Marcus said, "but we also created everything beautiful there. It's ours in all its messy glory." Zephyria's youngest brother, Prince Kale, leaned forward. "Is it true humans only live about 100 of their years?" "More or less," Marcus confirmed. "That seems terribly short." The prince looked genuinely concerned. "It is," Marcus agreed, "which is why we try not to waste it." Over the following days, what the imperial court expected to be a brief curiosity became something more. Zephyria requested Marcus's presence at official functions. They walked through the palace gardens, where she showed him plants from 1,000 worlds. He taught her a human card game, which she mastered in minutes, then proceeded to win every hand with competitive enthusiasm. "You're cheating," Marcus accused without heat. "I am a Valdorian princess. We do not cheat." But her eyes sparkled with mischief. "We simply play at a level you find surprising." They talked about governance and philosophy, about what it meant to lead, to be responsible for billions of lives. Marcus shared Earth's messy experiments with democracy, freedom, and self-determination. Zephyria described the Valdorian system of benevolent imperialism, maintained through tradition and technological superiority. "Your system sounds more efficient," Marcus admitted. "But do your people choose it?" "They are cared for, protected, given purpose." "That's not the same as choosing." These conversations troubled Zephyria in ways she couldn't quite articulate. Marcus, meanwhile, found himself drawn to her in ways that went beyond the obvious. Yes, she was otherworldly beautiful, but it was her mind that captivated him, her quick wit, her hunger to understand perspectives different from her own, her vulnerability when she spoke of feeling like a prize to be won rather than a person to be known. The imperial court watched this developing relationship with mixed reactions. Some saw opportunity, a connection with humanity that might prove useful. Others saw scandal, a princess of the greatest empire in the galaxy, becoming close with a representative of one of its least significant species. The Crothian delegation made their displeasure known. Their prince, Vexenaar, confronted Marcus in one of the palace's public spaces. "You think you're clever human?" Vexenaar towered over Marcus, all muscle and alien aggression. "Amusing the princess with your primitive charm?" "I think I'm having conversations with someone I find interesting," Marcus replied calmly. "If that bothers you, that's your problem, not mine. In my culture, we settle disputes through combat. Would you face me to prove your worth?" Marcus sighed. He'd known something like this was coming. "In my culture, we've learned that violence usually just creates more problems. But if you insist on making this physical, sure. Let's go." The challenge was formal enough that it couldn't be ignored. That evening, in one of the palace's training arenas, Marcus faced Vexenaar before a crowd that included Princess Zephyria and most of the royal court. Vexenaar was stronger, faster, and had reach advantage. The match should have been over in seconds. But Marcus had spent 20 years learning how to fight, and more importantly, how to survive. He used tactics that the Crothian, trained in honorable combat, found frustrating. He dodged, redirected, used the larger warrior's momentum against him. "Fight like a warrior," Vexenaar roared after Marcus avoided another charge. "I'm fighting like a human," Marcus called back. "We're not the strongest or fastest. We just refuse to give up." It took 15 minutes, but Marcus found his opening. When Vexenaar overextended on a power strike, Marcus got inside his guard and used a joint lock that physics made universal. The Crothian went down hard. Marcus stepped back immediately, offering a hand to help him up. "Good match." Vex and AR stared at the offered hand, then at Marcus's face, then at the watching crowd. Slowly, he accepted the help up. You are not what I expected. Human. Yeah, we get that a lot. Princess Zephyria approached Marcus afterward. You could have been seriously injured. Probably, but some things are worth the risk. Such as standing up for yourself, not backing down just because someone's bigger than you. He paused. Defending what matters to you. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. That night, Zephyria invited Marcus to her private observatory, a domed room at the palace's highest point with clear views of the cosmos. She often came here, she explained, when she needed to think. I've been considering what you said about choice, she began. About humans valuing the ability to decide their own path. And I realize I've never truly chosen anything important. My education was decided. My role was predetermined. Even my interests were guided toward what was considered appropriate for future empress. What would you choose if you could choose anything? Zephyria gazed at the stars. I would choose to explore, to see the galaxy not as a ruler, but as a traveler, to meet people not as subjects, but as individuals, to learn not what I'm supposed to know, but what I'm curious about. That's not impossible, Marcus said gently. You're heir to one of the most powerful empires in existence. You could probably do anything you wanted. Could I? She turned to him. Could I choose to spend time with a human captain that my court considers inappropriate? Could I choose to question traditions that have existed for millennia? Could I choose to fall in love with someone completely unsuitable? Marcus's breath caught. Zephyria, I know what you're going to say. That I'm a princess and you're just a captain. That our lifespans are incompatible, that our worlds are too different, that is impossible. Actually, I was going to say that you deserve to be happy. And if spending time with me makes you happy, then everyone else can deal with it. She moved closer. Your species has a custom. Kissing. I've read about it. We do. Would you show me? Marcus should have said no. Should have remembered his place, his duty, the impossible complexity of the situation. Instead, he reached up, gently cupped her face, and kissed her. It was electric, literally. Valdorians generated small bioelectric fields, and the connection sent tingles through both of them. When they broke apart, Zephyria was glowing slightly, her skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns Marcus hadn't seen before. Is that normal? He asked. I don't know. I've never felt anything like that before. The next morning, the Emperor summoned Marcus to a private audience. The human captain expected anger, demands to leave, possibly worse. Instead, Emperor Valder looked thoughtful. Captain Chen, you have disrupted my court, challenged my warriors, and apparently won my daughter's heart. Do you understand the complexity of the situation you created? Yes, Your Majesty. And for what it's worth, I never intended any of this. I came here to represent my people, nothing more. And yet here we are. The Emperor studied him. Tell me, Captain, do you love my daughter? Marcus met his gaze directly. I barely know her, Your Majesty, but I care about her. I want her to be happy. And I know that she deserves better than to be a bargaining chip in political alliances. You speak boldly for someone whose entire species could fit on a few of my worlds. One thing about humans, Your Majesty, we learned a long time ago that being small doesn't mean being insignificant. The Emperor almost smiled. Indeed, I will be direct, Captain. I want Zephyria to be happy too. She is my daughter before she is a princess. But I am also an emperor. I cannot simply allow her to run off with the first being who asks her about her dreams. I understand. Do you? Because what I'm about to propose will change your life forever. The Emperor leaned forward. Marry my daughter, Captain Chen, not as a political alliance, not as a diplomatic arrangement, but as a genuine partnership. Let the galaxy see that the Valdorian Empire values love and choice over tradition and calculation. Marcus stared. Your Majesty, our lifespans can be addressed. We have medical technology that can extend human lifespans considerably, not to match ours, perhaps, but you could live several centuries. Your biology would change. You would never truly be human again. And my people, my duty to Earth, would continue. As my son-in-law, you would be in a position to advocate for humanity far more effectively than as a mere captain. Earth would gain a voice in imperial politics. Your species would be lifted from obscurity. It was tempting, terrifyingly so, but Marcus forced himself to think clearly. I need to speak with Zephyria first. This isn't just about what I want or what you want. She has to choose this too. The Emperor did smile then. Now I understand why she finds you compelling. Go, talk to my daughter, but decide quickly. The Grand Convergence ends in 3 days. Marcus found Zephyria in the palace gardens. He told her everything. Her father's offer, the implications, the changes he would have to undergo, the complexity of their situation. She listened to it all in silence. Then, what do you want, Marcus? Honestly, I want to wake up next to you. I want to hear your laugh every day. I want to explore the galaxy with you, showing you Earth and having you show me everything beyond. I want to argue with you about politics and lose card games to you and spend decades learning everything about you. But I've only known you for 2 weeks, and I refuse to make this decision based on infatuation. You asked me what humans value. We value choice, yes, but we also value informed decisions. We need time. Zephyria nodded slowly. What if we had all the time in the universe? Then I'd say yes without hesitation. She took his hand. The Grand Convergence ends in 3 days. By tradition, I must choose a mate or have one chosen for me. But there's a lesser-known protocol. If I declare a courtship intent, the marriage can be postponed for up to 1 standard year. During that time, the couple lives together, learns about each other, decides if the match is viable. A trial run? More than that, a real relationship, without the immediate pressure of marriage. Marcus, I want that time. With you. To see if what we feel is real, or just 2 people rebelling against circumstances. Marcus considered. A year. Time to truly know each other. Time for both of them to be sure. What happens if at the end of the year we decide it won't work? Then we part as friends. And I would have had 1 year of choosing my own path. That alone would be worth it. On the final day of the Grand Convergence, before the assembled representatives of hundreds of species, Princess Zephyria made her announcement. She declared courtship intent with Captain Marcus Chen of Earth. The hall erupted in shocked whispers and outraged protests. The Crothian delegation stormed out. Several other suitors demanded explanations. But the Emperor raised his hand and silence fell. My daughter has chosen, as is her right under our oldest laws. The courtship will proceed. Over the following year, Marcus divided his time between Valdoria Prime and Earth. He underwent medical treatments to extend his lifespan, painful processes that restructured his cells at a fundamental level. He introduced Zephyria to Earth's oceans and mountains, to rain and snow and the simple pleasure of sunset. They visited Mars colonies and lunar bases. They attended Earth Council meetings together. Zephyria, in turn, brought Marcus into her world. They traveled to other Valdorian worlds, met beings, and saw wonders he could never have imagined. She taught him imperial politics and the subtle art of cosmic diplomacy. They worked together on initiatives to bring human worlds into closer cooperation with the Empire. They had fights, real ones, about philosophy and values and the future. They learned each other's limits and flaws. Marcus discovered that Zephyria could be imperious when stressed, falling back on royal authority. Zephyria learned that Marcus could be stubborn to the point of self-destruction when he believed he was right. But they also fell deeper in love. In the quiet moments between adventures, in the laughter they shared over small things, in the way they challenged each other to grow. When the year ended, they stood together before the Emperor and Empress, before Marcus's family who had traveled from Earth, before representatives of both their worlds. I choose this, Zephyria said. I choose Marcus, not because tradition demands it, not because politics requires it, but because he sees me, all of me, and I love him. I choose this too, Marcus said. I choose Zephyria. I choose a life that will be complicated and strange, and probably full of difficulties I can't even imagine yet. But I choose it willingly, with full knowledge of what it means. The wedding that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human and Valdorian traditions mixed. Music from Earth played alongside harmonic crystals from Valdoria. Marcus's aging mother walked him down the aisle, tears streaming down her face. The ceremony ended with both a kiss and a joining of bioelectric fields, the latter causing the princess to glow so brightly that the entire palace was illuminated. Years later, when historians look back on this moment, they would call it a turning point. The marriage of Princess Zephyria and Marcus Chen, later Emperor Consort Marcus of Earth, opened pathways for cultural exchange that transformed the galaxy. Humans became known not for their technology or military might, but for their perspective, for their emphasis on individual choice and dignity, for their stubborn refusal to accept that being small meant being insignificant. But on that day, none of that mattered to the two people at the center of it all. All that mattered was a choice they had made, together, to build something new,